Coming soon to own on
YouTube and Twitch. Unmasking the cult behind this depraved band. Let's get straight into it. It's going to be interesting.
This photograph depicts a section of the forest near the Italian town of Somma Lombardo. Somma Lombardo lies 30 miles northwest of Milan and is a somewhat unremarkable northern Italian town. Yet in the woods outside the unassuming little place, something truly horrifying happened.
Imagine you're like 8 years old, rolling through the woods with your one best friend, and you come across 4 people in a club strolling around in a circle. That would probably scar me for life.
Absolutely shock the world for generations to come.
Somma Lombardo, 1998.
One Saturday evening in January of 1998, 19-year-old shop assistant Chiara Marino and her 16-year-old musician boyfriend Fabio Tolles were sharing.
Already starting out rough. 19-year-old with 16-year-old boyfriend. Yeah, we're already starting a rough note.
A few beers in a Somma Lombardo bar named
Midnight
drinking. Pub, which was the center of the city's metal scene. At some point during their evening, they got chatting with a group of metal fans named Andrea Volpe, Nicola Sapone, and Mario Macchione. The group then swapped music recommendations and talked about their favorite records until the bar closed and they were forced to leave. After the throngs of young metalheads spilled into the streets outside, the couple's new friends asked them if they'd like to continue drinking out in the woods that surrounded the town. After hearing how their new
pro tip, I don't care how many people you know, drinking in the woods is never a good idea at all.
Friends had brought along a boombox in one of their cars, and how they'd be able to blast metal and drink themselves into a stupor until sunrise, the couple accepted. Then, after piling into the small rickety vehicle, they drove off into the night, in the direction of the pitch-black forest. Once they were deep in the woods, far from the prying eyes of the devoutly religious local villagers, the group began to engage in a night of pure depravity. As the music blared and the mood became raunchier and raunchier, one member of the group produced a baggie of hard drugs, which were
and I know everybody popped that perk. All of them, they popped that perk.
Generously shared among the others.
Yep.
Chiara and Fabio were enthralled and intoxicated by how wild and debauched the group was.
See, like, now put that in perspective. You now crossfaded in the middle of the woods. With a people you kind of know, but you only really know when you're drunk around them. So you really don't even know these people for real. Now you crossfaded.
They were told that what was occurring wasn't so much a party as a drug-fueled occult ritual enacted in the name of Satan himself. Then, just when the couple least expected it, one of their new friends pulled out a knife, then lunged at a horrified Chiara, slashing and stabbing in a wild frenzy of narcotic-fueled violence. Fabio did everything in his power to defend his terrified girlfriend, but he was quickly overpowered, dragged to the forest floor,
because he's 16,
and beaten to death with a claw hammer. Chiara tried to run, but it was no good. The group quickly caught up with her, violated her, then subjected her to the same grisly fate as her boyfriend. Once the couple were dead, the trio of Satan worshippers who referred to themselves as the Beasts of Satan dug a shallow, shared grave for the couple, then filled it in as they carried on blaring metal and taking drugs. Once it was filled, the boys began dancing on the grave, willing Satan to resurrect the couple as the living dead. "Now you're both zombies. Try to get out of this hole if you dare," one of them screamed as the others broke into a chorus of sickening laughter. After that, the boys continued drinking and blasting music until the sun finally peeked over the horizon. Then once it did, they drove back home and slept like babies.
That's oh God.
After Chiara and Fabio's parents reported their children missing, the local police came to the conclusion that the couple had simply eloped to continue their love affair away from the interference of their families. Yet Fabio's father, Michele, refused to accept this explanation. And over the years that followed, he began putting together an intelligence file on the activities of those he suspected were guilty of his son's murder. Officially speaking, the Beasts of Satan's third murder occurred in January of 2004, but between then
98 to 2004 and uncaught. That's just back in the old days, bro. That would have been a time I would have never let my kids go out. I'm just saying.
In 1996, it's suspected but not proven that they were involved in a plethora of other killings. On November 14th of 1996, a 23-year-old construction worker named Christian Frigerio went missing from his home in Brugherio. His disappearance was never solved, but the fact that he was a former member of the self-proclaimed Beasts of Satan gives us a good idea of who might have been responsible for him vanishing.
Oh, yeah, he tried to leave.
A few years later, the 21-year-old former friend of Andrea Volpe was found hanged in the school he had attended on May 7th of 1999.
Oh, God.
The police claimed that Andrea Bellerin's death had been them taking their own life, but a number of inconsistencies suggested that the so-called taking of their own life may have been staged. A few months after the hanging, 28-year-old gravedigger Angelo Lombardo was found burned alive in the Legnano cemetery he was employed at. No one was properly held accountable for his death, but he was the second former member of the Beasts of Satan to disappear or die under mysterious circumstances in just a few years.
Yo, they slamming them all out.
The following year, 26-year-old Doriano Mola was found hanged in the woods near Caveria con Premeso, a town just a few miles away from Somma Lombardo. His death bore all the same strange signs of foul play that Andrea Bellerin's had, yet the police simply dismissed the case as nothing more than them tragically taking their own lives. 4 years later, 21-year-old flower seller Luca Colombo was found hanged in Legnano, and it was common knowledge that he was an associate of the Beasts of Satan member Niccolo Sapone. The third mysterious death was followed by the horrific murder of 18-year-old carpenter Alberto Scaramuzzino, who was found burned in his car in the woods near Arconate on May 23rd of 2004. Yet while the police seemed either unwilling or unable to solve any of these deaths, Michele Tolles had observed the strange similarities between them and noted with grim fascination that some seemed to be intimately connected to the group he believed had killed his son.
I'm trying to think. So not only former members were getting killed, but current members were also getting slammed out. And like these crazy, this shit like mafia hits, damn near. Flaming cars, hanging bodies. So it's like, I'm trying to think, is there like an inner circle of the cult that's doing this?
Finally, in January of 2004, 27-year-old shop assistant Mariangela Pizzotta was shot in the throat and later buried alive in the town of Gola Secca.
That might be the worst way to die. Imagine getting shot in your throat and then buried alive. In the one spot you need air, they're going to throw dirt on top of it.
A place only a short drive away from Somma Lombardo. When it was discovered she was the ex-girlfriend of Beasts of Satan ringleader Andrea Volpe, he was promptly arrested, and due to suffering from heroin withdrawals in police custody, it was relatively easy to force a confession out of him. Volpe spilled his...
Wait, so he confessed because he had heroin withdrawals? I get withdrawals and, being addicted is serious, but there's no way you're that addicted to heroin you're willing to throw your life away to go get a hit.
Guts to two homicide detectives, explaining how he lured Pizzotta to her death under the guise of a friendly dinner, having already decided her fate due to her knowing too much about Fabio and Chiara's murders. Andrea Volpe then described how after an intense argument, he had shot Pizzotta in the throat before summoning Niccolo Sapone to help him dispose of her body. Yet as they were doing so, they discovered that although she was in absolute agony, Pizzotta was actually still alive. After hitting her several times with a heavy spade, the pair attempted to hide the
Where's
dying
spade?
girl's body in the greenhouse of one of their girlfriend's parents' homes, burying her alive.
So I'm not trying to defend them, but like some niggas just don't think, oh yeah, let's bury a dead body in a greenhouse. The fuck? Like, of course they're gonna find that shit.
In the process. After committing such a heinous act of murder, Volpe injected a powerful cocktail of cocaine and heroin, then decided to get rid of Pizzotta's car by driving it into a nearby river. Yet on the way to do so, his state of intoxication caused a car crash, meaning he was an easy target for arrest. Volpe went on to confess to the only murders the police could actually pin on him, the murders of Fabio Tolles and Chiara Marino, and led the police to the spot that he'd helped bury their bodies so many years before.
I think that was a
After
body in
hearing
there.
of Volpe's
It was
arrest
just
and
a dude laying
confession,
down.
Michele Tolles approached the detectives and offered them the intelligence file he had put together over the past 6 years. This seemed to confirm the existence of the Beast of Satan and led to the arrest of its third member, Mario Macchione, who presented himself as the psychic medium of the group. Macchione claimed that Fabio was one of his best friends at the time of his death, and that Andrea Volpe had threatened him into taking part in the murder under pain of death. As the investigation continued, it was discovered that the Beasts of Satan had started out as little more than a heavy metal band, but as time went on, they had become less interested in making music and far more interested in satanic ritual murder. This is how it was discovered that the group's drummer, Andrea Bontade, had taken his own life right around the same time they made the transition from music to Satan worship, and it was believed that his former bandmates had either talked him into doing so or staged his murder as a car crash to absolve themselves of any suspicion.
Wow.
At the conclusion of his multiple murder trial on February 22nd of 2005, Andrea Volpe was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
That's it? Oh, yeah.
Mario
Never mind. They only got him for
Macchione had
two
also
bodies.
confessed to the murders, but was somehow cleared of all charges due to his secondary role in the crimes.
What? What? How's that work? So a nigga gonna admit to helping kill and hide bodies, but they're gonna drop the charges because they felt like he didn't contribute enough? What? Well, what happened to guilty by association? That makes no sense.
The reactions of the victims' families were mixed to say the least. Michele Tolles was quoted as saying, "Today, justice rewarded me." But Lina Marino, mother of the slain Chiara, was outraged at the relatively light sentences that Volpe had received.
Yeah.
She told a crowd of gathered journalists, "It's not fair. They're murderers. I don't care if they cooperated. They took my daughter away from me, and they should have their own lives taken away."
Absolutely,
5 more of
that's
the
fair.
group's associates went to trial in June of 2005, and each were sentenced to long prison terms over the following year. Nicola Sapone was somehow painted as the leader of the group after Andrea Volpe had told police that it was Nicola, not he, that was the mastermind behind the killings. As a result, he received a life sentence, and the 4 other
Wow.
Satanists he went to trial with received between 24 and 26 years for their roles in the 3 confirmed murders.
But what's the difference? Are those both not life sentences?
In the aftermath of the group's conviction and sentencing, there was a growing concern in Italy that Satanism and the occult were becoming increasingly attractive to Italian youth.
But it's like, how do you find that attractive though? It's like I guess like you find it like that it's the thing you're not supposed to be doing. It's the bad guy and stuff. You want to be with the bad guy, but he's active like in this community, they're actively killing each other. Intentionally. They're killing each other. And it's like you want to be a part of that? It's like, nah.
Public outrage was such that during the bulk of the trials, a Catholic university connected to the Vatican began offering 2-month courses on diabolical possession and exorcism for those who wanted to know more about such a phenomena. One priest by the name of Don Aldo Buonaiuto called for death metal to be banned, claiming that if music makes itself an instrument of nefarious deeds and death, it should be stopped. The Italian police then announced their intention to create a special task force which would focus solely on the occult, particularly Satanists and other violent ritualistic groups. It would coordinate nationwide investigations into potentially dangerous new religious movements and plan to include not only qualified psychologists, but also a priest who claimed to be an expert on the occult. Incredibly, Andrea Volpe was released from prison in 2020 after serving just half of his sentence, and he is currently...
Wait. So he gets 30 years, and he only serves 15.
studying the science of education at an unnamed Italian university. It seems deeply appalling that someone who inflicted such cruelty on people is probably destined to work with children in the future. But the prospect raises profound questions on the nature of redemption and forgiveness. It's entirely possible that Andrea Volpe had completely reformed himself, and that 15 years in prison was enough time for him to strongly reconsider his stance on many of life's deeper questions. But then again, maybe he's just carefully placing himself in a position to commit even worse crimes against those that are even more innocent and defenseless than his original victims.
That's... Oof.
Hey friends, thanks so much for watching.
That was Unmasking, the cult behind this Depraved band. I'm not gonna lie, they were wilding. This was very weird, especially because it was like the cult members were killing each other. I don't know, like what the ritual they did or what they seen. There was their closest friends were helping each other hide bodies, set up like it was suicide. They were killing each other's friends. Like this slimy, just I don't see how people see that shit like that and like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of it. But let me know how y'all feel about that. With that being said, down below, comment if can't talk. Comment down below how you see. God damn, I did comment. Comment down below how you. God damn. Comment down below how you feel about that. That being said, I'll see y'all boys later, dude.
Why you standing on by yourself? Those shoes are made for dancing with someone else. Why don't we move over to that empty space? I'll bet you $20, I'll put a smile on your face. I know a place where we can dance the night away. Maybe we could try to make the world's best slower. We could take our time.